lines from the top of Nun Dalet. Yeah.
Just a technical question here. At the top of page Nun Dalet,
Yeah.
the Rebbe says that because the Indian of Hamshachah Madrega is Mismayat or, therefore you need a bracha that it should be drawn down the way it is in its shorish. But then he says that the Indian of the bracha is Gamkein, is also the Hamshach Toisavos or. And what does that mean? That the thing, the way it's in its or, should be drawn down begilui. In other words, the way that the Rebbe is saying with the Gamkein, it sounds like there's two things, but it sounds like the same explanation.
Well, the Rebbe explains it. You'll see in a minute.
Which line did
We'll start from the second line. That's where you would have had a question. Second line, Anun Dalet. Normally, he says, there are several things in a bracha. Number one, there could be some kind of a restraint in the bracha coming down, or the way it is l'mayla to be coming down, on the way down. And then also, as you mamshich madriga in normal fashion, the oil is mismayit. As we discussed yesterday, this is something which is important to understand, that the oil itself is mismayit, because the keli is not a keli for the full brightness of the oil. The principle of the oil, we're not going to elaborate greatly, but because we've spoken about it now, the principle of the oil versus the mitzias. The mitzias is something which is identified by virtue that I'm encountering it. Here it is. I see it there, therefore I know it's there. It's there because I see it, not because it has to be. The principle of oil is that it brings along a certain sense that there is a certain truth with this. That's my oil. It has to be like this. Why does it have to be like this? Because there's a broader truth, a broader source for it, and this is the bottom rung of representing that ultimate truth. We spoke many times, mentioned the human spirit that initially conceptualized the car. And we said that the human spirit knows no bounds. Human spirit is not just to allow to get from point A to point B. Human spirit is that he is everywhere at the same time. Like the Baal Shem Tov says, then practically speaking, because it comes down into Gashmis, it comes down on different levels, therefore it has to be accomplished via various activities. We project being there, and then we have to get there. But we're getting there because we have projected being there. This is the way the process goes. Where is this concept come to a person? That he is everywhere. What is this? Some kind of flighty gaiva? What is behind it? The animal does not have this concept. The animal has his little turf and he stays there. Human being knows no bounds. Yedi Hayom Bolius, he can't stay where he has to go into the high seas and cover and go to India and go to the other side of the world. Why? Not only why, but where is that hope? Where did the whole concept come from? He never saw it. Nothing there enticing you. Just, I have to be everywhere. I have to climb Mount Everest at the risk of losing my life. Pardon me, this is really a craziness. But the idea that there is such a thing, where does it come from? Let's think together and we'll see. The principle that inspires a person to see the entire world as his area is, I'll step back a moment because I want to have it clear. The difference between the way God created the human being and the way God created the animal is that the animal was created to be an animal. And he knows what he knows. The human being got created to be God. Now, but to know where he's coming from. Not just to know what he is. He doesn't live in a world that he discovers by experience. He knows it before he even opens his eyes. Why? Because he comes into God's world. Into a creative world. Into a real world. To start with, he perceives a real world. Not because he perceives it, he's so wise. Because that's his nefesh, his neshama perceives, lives in the real world, in the godly reality. Godly reality. God gave me the whole world. He creates the whole reality. Not just this little spot. And therefore, we said the person, when he treats on the ground, he treats on the entire ground, even though he walks on a narrow plank. This is let's say, a marvelous partnership, so to speak. The human being is a little creature here on the earth, and his spirit knows no bounds. Because his spirit is not really a created spirit. It's way beyond world. Now we're talking about a bracha. And a bracha means that you give a bracha that here in the material world, things should be representative of the way they are in their source. It should be obvious, not from an avoider perspective, but from a richness perspective, or greatness perspective. There are no real boundaries. Where do you get that? This is the godly presence in the world. This is a direct reflection of the fact that the world is a God's creation. This is what he says. That the bracha is yumshach kmeishu beshorsho. There should be no kings, no restraints. The habracha hu gamkin, and then I know it says the inyan habrocha or the inyan habrocha. Who gamkin is also laham shich tois v'soy. It is to be mamshich tois v'soy. Additional oil. As we said, that as things descend, descending means it becomes contained in a keli. And a keli creates a boundary, that's what a keli is. And therefore there is less oil. Okay, I started to explain what is the principle of oil. This means oil. Oil means this is the way that this is the reality. This is not just a matter of fact, I'm discovering something. And I'm explaining that the human being was made, especially he was made to live in oil, not in Gashmis. As an evidence for the fact that he always sees beyond what is visible.
Amen.
And then in the bracha is hamshich toisvus. Ayin, which would mean shehadavar kameshehu beshorsho mekoiroi, that this thing, exactly the way it is in its source, kein yumsha begil. That is how it should be nimsha begil. Okay, we should think about it for a moment. Yitzhak, we're talking about Yitzhak's planting. Right? When you plant something in the ground, naturally, since it has to develop, so it takes time to develop, and it's a gradual development. The way the inyan is lamaila, the way it is in spirit, when you put a seed into the ground, in spirit that seed is already a full stalk of wheat. Doesn't become a stalk of wheat as it develops. That is the hamshach. But in essence, it's a living thing. Because of the way the Rebbe created the world, the Rebbe gave the bracha that everything should grow, and it gives the oil, the chayus, and therefore it is already a full stalk of wheat. But then, as it develops, because it's on the ground, because it's in kelim, there are all kinds of things that limit it. For example, a stalk of wheat can carry 1,000 grains of wheat. It's conceivable that it should carry 10,000 grains of wheat. Mitzat shoshu, there is no limit. This is what needs to be understood. Mitzat shoshu, there is no limit. There's not 100 grains or 1,000 grains. Because it's the spirit of it. It's the godly bracha, godly presence has no limit. Except then he has to calm down in Gashmis, then it acquires a limit. And this is what he says over here. That there should be additional oil so that, I said, Adar k'meishehu beshorsho, the way it is in Shosho Mekoyle, kein yumshach begila. It should be expressed begila the way it is beshorsho. Beshorsho, it is limitless. Ukmeisha calls him, as the pasuk says, Vayizah Yitzchak planted, Vayimtzo me'o she'orim. Already. Vayimtzo me'o she'orim. and he found 100-fold, 100 measures. By Borachehu Hashem, and Hashem blessed him. And what does the Pasuk tell us? Api say that Hamshocho. Normally, according to normal order of Hamshocho, Hoyo, hey, a huge shiur. It would have been 5 or 10 times as much as the seeding was. Adarach Moshe. The bracha, he made a shiur. As a result of bracha, it was made a shiur. 100 measures. And yet still, so therefore he says 100 measures, according to Noam HaMashach, it should be 10 times, so therefore this is way out. He says, no, that is still part of the bracha. Mekomokim still hareis ze ha-hamshocho mebchina sheresh u'mokim levad. Yet still it is the hamshocha only from sheresh u'mokim. Because as we explained, the sheresh u'mokim, it is in a different category. It is in the oil category, and then there is inherently no limit. On Shabbos we say that Shabbos is Vaychal Elokim b'Meshvi Malachti Asheros. That all the work has been finished and completed. And the Gemara says, and the Gemara says, that on Shabbos a person should perceive himself as having achieved his ultimate goal. Kilu kol malachtecho asur. Kol malachtecho asur. In other words, he have abundance. The human abundance is also limited, but it's not limited in terms of providing for him. It's limited because it's in the world. But he has abundance. He has absolutely no wants. The principle of a bracha, the way it is beshorsho, is not how many kernels of wheat he's going to produce. It is rather, is he getting ample? Is he getting abundance? This is the bracha. Bracha is not how many we can count. Does that go beyond your limit? Do you still sense a sense of want? So we say that in there is no sense of want. They should provide it for the world, for everyone. Beshorsho, in abundance. In abundance does not mean, again, not mean that there is beyond that he can handle. Abundance means beyond that he can sense a sense of want. Therefore, this is also still mitzvah shosha. The mayor sheyarim. And then that explains how is Meir She'orim within limit. Because Meir She'orim, 100 measures, Hein, Inyan, Meir Brochis. This is actually a reflection of the Inyan from Meir Brochis, Meshukosib and Maki Machter. Ve'odua, it's known that what is the principle of Meir Brochis, 100 Brochis. שזה עניין קודשא בריחו די יסקליל, that קודשא בריחו, Hashem, the Yiskelel, who is contained, v'rozo the meir birchoin, in the soil the meir birchoin of 100 brachas, shezeo bechinas ari champin. Meir birchoin, this is the adrega of ari champin, sheshom ispar meir, because this is where there is a mispar meir of the number of 100. As we know, the 100 is 10 times 10. 10 spheres all completely conjugated. Hu bechinas hayesh u'mokel ne'atzolim mishukotsim ha'kimach be'erich. And this is the source for ne'atzolim. This is the way ne'atzolim are at a higher and in so to speak in the source state. Zeho mashakosu. And thus, this is what the pasuk says: Baruch Havaya Elokei Yisrael min ha'elam v'ad ha'elam. To translate, Baruch Havaya, the bracha Havaya, Elokei Yisrael, the God of Israel, ben min ha'elam v'ad ha'elam, from the world to the world. What does from the world to the world mean? Min amadi is kasya li amadi is galia. Baruch, the word Baruch means to bring down in recognition, to bring down in exposure. That's mean Baruch. And Baruch Havaya Elokei Yisrael, to bring down an exposure of Elokei Yisrael min ha'elam v'ad ha'elam, from one world onto the next world. Which of the two worlds? Amadi is Kasya, the concealed world. The Amadi is Galio, to the revealed world. The Reprotius Ho'ilameis, more specifically on the world level, this would be Hein Bria v'Yitzira. These are the two worlds that's called Bria and Yitzira. The Elam HaBria Nikra Amadi is Kasya, but the Yitzira is called Amadi is Galio. As the pasuk says, Yoitzer Oir Uvoirei Choisher. This is the pasuk that alludes to these two worlds. Yoitzer is Yitzira, and Choisher and Beir is Bria. That Oir is the revealed world, that's Yitzira, and Choisher is a concealed world, this is Bria. Al derech Moshe. The motion for this is machshava dibur, thought and speech. The machshava hi behelem. Machshava is behelem, is concealed. It's contained internally to the mind of the person. The kasha yachshev odom dvar seichel. The person will consider, will contemplate a dvar seichel, any kind of a seichel. Afilo yitroid boy, even if he should be very engaged, involved in it, completely engulfed in it. Leyadu mahu choishe. There's no way that from outside he would know what he is thinking. The only thing that we do know by observation is that he is thinking about something. So you can tell that he is thinking about something, and that he is very engrossed and very taken in by this. And yet, what he thinks, there's no way for you to know. I know, and that is lefi she'oisis hamachshava heinoisis dakim v'ruchniim, because the letters of thought are very thin, very fine and spiritual letters, sheinam murgoshim al hazulos, that are not sensed but to the outside. V'gam oil hanefesh, and likewise oil hanefesh, the neshama light, k'moy haseichel v'hamidos, such as the koiches seichel amidos, meyirim b'machshava begilui, they shine in the machshava begilui in full glory, be'efon, in a manner sheyefsher adayin lehis galis el hazuris. It is not possible for that to be nisgala, to be expressed el hazuris, to the outside. Omeshum zeh gamkein, and that too is the reason that ha'oises in ruchnim adayin. Why the oises of machshava are still ruchniim, spiritual oises, not very tangible oises, because of the fact that the oil is such that cannot be contained in tangible oises. It can only be contained in ruchni oises. Okay, there's much to discuss over here. What are we up to? Just as a starter, everybody knows that machshava is also with oisius. Why do you need oisius in machshava, in thought? You're thinking to yourself what you feel. Why do you need oisius? Oisius is for presentation purposes. Why do you need oisius? For internal consumption, so to speak. The answer is that machshava is external to the nefesh. The neshama is mislabish in a goof. And mislabish in a goof means that you know on the goof level what the nefesh is. And this is a miracle in itself. Goof is does not have a sensitivity of what nefesh is. And the only way that the goof can receive the nefesh is with these oisius ruchnim, which we will discuss in Mitzvah. But in principle, what we're discussing now is that in the one person himself there is alma d'iskasya and alma d'isgalia. Machshava is alma d'iskasya. It's also a world. It is not this is something which is internal to the nefesh. It's a created world. It's an organized world. But it's concealed. And the reason it's concealed is because the oises there are very spiritual, very refined. And then there is Amud Galia, when it comes out in Dibur. It becomes a full-fledged creation.
The reason they're oisius at all is because it's machshava is outside the neshama. The reason that they're letters of thought at all.
Yeah, because the idea of machshava is that it should be known in the goof.
Even Alma's Galia is a world separate than the source. And it has to be something that's known on the outside. That's the idea. There's letters in Alma's Galia. It's not goof. I mean that is goof. That's a high. That's like machshava basically.
It's known in the goof. We'll discuss it tomorrow. All right. Have a great day.
So the answer to my question in the beginning was that the Tosafos are that first there's bringing down the Inyan, the way it is Lamaila, or the way it's in its source, but it doesn't have to be in abundance. Then there's that you bring down the Ayin that it's in the full glory, it's in full abundance. Is that the idea? The distinction between bringing down the Ayin from the source and then Tosfos or
To bring down the Ayin from the source has also different categories. Everything comes from the source. Bringing down the full source, that requires Tosfos. Because normally you want to put in the kelim. The kelim are not reflective of the source. You are expanding the kelim. But they should be receiving the full source.